everybody out there in YouTube land today? Old Grandpa and Miss Lily here on the Lily 2. We're doing just fine, just fine. Go on, go on. You want to go out? Go on out, good girl. Anyhow, we're doing just fine here on the boat. You can see she's up there in the companionway. She doesn't know what to do with herself at the moment. I don't know why. She seems like she's awful excited about me doing a live stream at the moment, but it is what it is. Anyhow, things are pretty quiet here on the boat. Hot night last night. Pretty warm here in Manhasset Bay. 85 already this morning. It was 85 when I woke up this morning, so it's still staying pretty warm. Hey, Don, how are you this morning? Little bit of disturbing news this morning. I ran the engine for about an hour last night before my live stream. That seemed like it charged up the battery pretty well. I ran the engine for a little bit, about an hour and a half this morning, and it really did not charge the battery up very well. In fact, my fan is turning pretty slow, and while I was sitting here listening to the fan turn, I could actually hear it slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. So I have serious doubts once again about my alternator's ability to generate power. You know, maybe it was okay, and maybe it worked for a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I wasn't running it at a high enough RPM this morning or something. I don't know. So I'm not gonna get all worried and upset about it. I'm hopefully gonna have the generator back today. Hopefully we'll get the generator back today, and so if that's the case, I can just charge it off of the battery charger off the generator and power it that way. So whatever, it is what it is. On the computer front, for those of you that watched the live stream last night, my PC crapped out. They're telling me it's $510 to fix my PC. I don't think my computer's worth putting $510 into it. So I've been considering options last night and this morning and trying to think of other ways of proceeding. I use my laptop mostly for video editing. It's very good with the Adobe Premiere Pro for doing very high-end video editing. Hey, John Dolan, how you doing? Hey, Peaceful Don, good to see you there, man. Anyhow, that's what I've been using it for, is for video editing. And I also keep my records and my notes and my passwords and hey, Brad, hey, John Stratton, all that kind of stuff on my laptop. You know, I mean, I use my laptop like everybody else uses my laptop. All my email correspondence goes through there, website management, all that kind of stuff. All my word processing, all my number crunching, statistical analysis, all my data collection, all that stuff's on the laptop. So it'd be a very major loss to lose all that for me. And then again, you know, monetarily, it really makes no difference whatsoever. It's just I hate to lose all that stuff. I have a lot of cool stuff on there. But it was time, you know, it's been a couple of years, so it's kind of time for a new computer anyway. And I really can't afford one right now. So all kinds of things going on, trying to think outside the box, some other options. One of my friends suggested that I just work with my iPad and my iPhone. Well, I can't really edit with my iPad. I have a very low powered iPad. It's only a 16 gigabyte iPad. And hey, Mama Stree, how you doing? So it's not capable of video editing. It can't download the files off of the computer. I mean, off the cameras. I can through Bluetooth. I can transfer files off my GoPros and certainly off my cell phone onto my iPad using Bluetooth capabilities, and it can connect that way, and I can but there's no room on the iPad to store it. So it's just a very small, weak iPad. My iPad is fine for me for setting up to have Navionics on and to use for, you know, a couple minor things. But it really doesn't have the cojones to do video editing. It's just not big enough, just not powerful enough. Same with my iPhone. My iPhone's just not big enough. So So there's the idea of going to AT&T and saying, hey, you know, you guys have a deal going right now on the new 12.5-inch displayed iPad with 650 gigabytes of storage. Maybe I should, you know, sign a 20-month agreement or whatever it is on that and start setting up something like that on my iPad so I could use that for video editing. I don't know. I'm trying to think out the box right now for some other alternatives. Ways to keep things going while I'm working out details. So, I don't know. I'm going to call AT&T this morning and talk to them and see what kind of options are available. Initially, I had called them about adding additional lines onto my phone because I was using my iPhone and my iPad to hotspot my computer so I could access the web and stuff. And that was all well and good, and I wanted the ability to have more hotspot capability because it was limited at only 15 gig, and I was burning through that, like, you know, in a week. So the idea of adding another component into my account would add another 15 gigabytes and another 22 gigabytes of total, theoretically. So they say. So some of the people say. Some of the people at AT&T say that's true. Some of the people at AT&T say that's not true. If you ask me, I don't think AT&T knows what the hell it's doing either way. So I don't think you would be happy using an iPad for video editing. Yeah, John Dolan, you might very well be correct with that. Hey, Steve Vids, how you doing this morning? No, you're probably correct, but I've been going over my budget, looking at things every way I can. I just don't have $510 to put into my laptop right now. I mean, I just don't have it. So the only other option is to not do video editing at all, or try doing video editing on an iPad. It's a big tablet. The big, you know, it's actually, the screen is almost the same size as my computer. And according to what I've been hearing review-wise, it does a pretty good job of editing 4K video using some low-powered video editors. But let me see here. Yeah, Steve, good morning, Carl. Good morning, Carl, and everybody. Hey, Billy. Basic video editing is fine on my iPad Pro using iMovie. A bit limited for multiple soundtracks, but otherwise works well. Okay, and which iPad Pro? You've got the iPad Pro. How many gigabytes do you have on that, Steve? Good morning, everybody. Hey, Douglas, how you doing, buddy? How we handle them and how we keep real tests. Keep your dream in focus, and I'm sure it'll work out. You're so good at your live streams. Well, thanks, Mama Stree. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, it won't affect my ability to do the live streams at all. I just want to be able to generate some real content. So, battling around the bush, you want someone to pay. That's not what I'm saying at all, quality content. Walmart has some great deals on their laptops. Might be the best bet you'll get by for now. Yeah, John, I've been kind of looking at them. I could buy a fairly cheap laptop for, $300-400. Micro Center also has some refurbished laptops in that same program, in that same price range. But I use MacBooks Pro with Final Cut Pro 10 for bigger ones. I'm using it now. I use the MacBook Pro, okay. Opened last night and cloned in both for hours. Oh, sorry to hear that, Billy. iPad Pro is 128 gigs. Yeah, see, mine's only a 16 gig. And so it's really not capable of doing any video editing. And the problem with buying the low end, the cheap computers is that I've subscribed to certain programs on my existing computer that I guess I could go ahead and get those subscriptions transferred over to something else, but I lose so much other stuff on there. It's just kind of painful to think about that, to be honest with you. Now, some people suggested I change the motherboard out myself. I got online and I watched some videos on changing out the motherboard. Let me shut that fan off because it's not doing anything but wasting battery. I got on and I looked at replacing the motherboard, and I watched some videos on how people have done that, and I guess theoretically it's possible I could, but frankly, I went ahead and tried to search to find the right motherboard to replace my motherboard on my computer, and I was not coming up with anything. You know, I searched for the model and serial number of my laptop, and it didn't come up with any specific company that was selling that motherboard for that computer. So, and I don't have enough experience in playing with that stuff to really know what would be the right thing or the wrong thing. MacBook Pro is an expensive laptop. Yeah, MacBook Pro is an expensive laptop. Yep, a lot more money than I care to spend. So I really think that the cheapest viability, like $2,400, yeah, the cheapest reality for me would be just to go ahead and have Micro Center fix it for $500. Because by the even if I were to spend $300 or $400 buying a cheap Walmart computer, it's not going to have the graphics card capability to do the video editing. $510, I get my old computer back in 100% shape, and it should be okay. But I don't know what to do. So I think I don't have really much choice in the matter. I'm just going to go ahead and get the laptop back and just store it here on the boat for the time being until I can get someplace where I can start working. I did work out where I can on my iPad. I can be doing my marketing and stuff for my real estate business. I won't be able to set up a real estate website, I don't think, just using the iPad, especially a 16 gigabyte. It's pretty limited. I mean, like, I tried to upload one video off of my my little session today, one 9-minute video, and it exceeded my storage capacity on my iPad. So my little iPad isn't getting it. So possibly going to the big, 12-inch tablet with 600 gigabytes, that might be a cheap way for me to do that. You could remote into Doug's machinery or anyone else and work remotely. You could remote into Doug's machine or anyone else's and work remotely. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Don. And Doug doesn't have a machine either, so as much as I'm sure Doug would, as nice a guy as Doug is, he'd probably be willing to help me out with that, but it wouldn't do me any good. He doesn't have a computer that works anyway, so I use remote desktop all the time. I've never used remote desktop. Put it in a pillowcase and then a plastic bag sealed up till you get it fixed. Yeah, it might be the best bet, Billy Boy. Might be the best bet. So anyhow, I'm just thinking outside the box for other options, and so expensive computer from anywhere with a cheap computer. I log into an expensive computer. Yeah, I don't, Don, that's fine if I had an office or someplace where there was an expensive computer I could access to. I don't have that right now, so limited resources. Anyhow, moving on. So it's going to be really hot here today. I'm hoping to hear from actually, I'm going to call them as soon as I get done with this live stream, the computer guys. And so what would be the right laptop for you? John, the computer that I have is the right laptop for me. I mean, it works. It's functional. It allows me to video edit. It's actually on the low side, to be honest with you. Having a computer with a bigger graphics card and more storage capacity would be best. But I think the most economic route for me to go right now, if I had the funds, would just spend $510 to get my computer fixed. That way I wouldn't lose any of my software. I wouldn't lose any of my subscriptions that I've already paid for and have installed on that computer. I guess those subscriptions and software can be transferred to another computer, but they're already on that. And rather than go out and spend $300 or $400 buying another used or low-powered computer, that's not going to enable me to be able to video edit because the graphics cards in those just aren't big enough. The video files take a lot. Adobe Premiere Pro puts a lot of pressure on your computer's graphics capabilities, especially when you're dealing with a 20-25 minute video. I mean, that's a lot of stuff up there on the desktop all at one time that it's trying to deal with. So It takes a pretty decent sized computer. And so, I mean, you know, ideally go out and spend $1,000, $1,200 buying a replacement computer would be ideal. I don't have that kind of money. I'm not even going to dream that that would even be possible. You know, trying to put together $500 to fix my computer is probably the smartest thing for me to do. Is just start, you know, trying to save up some money and try to find somewhere along the way where I can get that done. So, well, John, because if I tried selling real estate here in New York, which I had thought about earlier this summer, a couple of things working against me. One, it's going to take me 60 days or so here in New York to get licensed because I have to go back to real estate school. It's going to cost me, you know, $1,200 or whatever to get licensed here in New York at least. Then I would have to join the local multiple listing service. That's going to be another $3,500 to $4,000. And then I would still need to have a car to drive around in and. It's just not viable for me to do that here, especially consider winter is right around the corner. I mean, you know, we're talking about September now, you know, so by the time I did all that, I'd be into November, December and be freezing my butt off. I'm already licensed in Florida. I already have a real estate business in Florida. I'm already a member of the multiple listing and service in Florida. I can go down to Florida and my only expense that I'm looking at and getting up and running as a realtor there is, you know, $500 for some postage to get some mailers out and going and you know, $1,000 to buy a cheap car. And I will be 100% functional down in Florida. I just got to get my butt to Florida. So, yeah, trying to get set up as a real estate broker here in New York. I'm not licensed in New York. So I would have to go to real estate school. I'd have to take a test. I'd have to pass the test, pay for the licensing, then join the multiple listing service. All of that takes time and takes money. And the multiple listing service up here in New York in this town is very expensive. I used to be a member of this multiple listing service back in the early 80s, and back then it was $10,000 buy-in to become a member of the real estate board. So it's not a cheap thing to do. Now, I could work as an agent for another broker, but then I'm losing half of whatever my income would be, you know, going to that person. Whereas I'm already set up down in Florida. Smart thing for me to do would be to get to Florida as fast as I can, which is what I'm trying to do. But, you know, weather is something that always is going to interrupt that process. And so, like as an example, you know, we've got Florence on her way up here. Now, right now, as of this morning, it looks like Florence is going to veer off and move offshore. But we're still going to be affected here for about 3 or 4 days of very high wind. We're not going to get a direct hit of the hurricane. As of the current models as of this morning that I'm seeing is we're not going to get hit by the hurricane. But we're going to get a lot of really nasty weather for 3 or 4 days as she rolls past us. So right now I'm thinking my earliest departure date from here is going to be the 15th of September. Now that may change depending on the weather forecast, but that's what I'm looking at right now. So that's in what, 9 days, 10, 11 days, something like that. What's today, the 6th? Yep, today's the 6th. So, you know, in, yeah, I guess what, 9 days. I'm gonna plan on getting out of here in 9 days. So in the meantime, I'm gonna try to get the generator back on board, get it hooked up and working, get this dinghy patched up and fixed so I can tow it on behind me. And I'm going to beat feet to try to get down to Florida as fast as I can. But, you know, that's a 40-day, 60-day trip, any way you look at it. If I went, you know, single-handing by myself, you know, you go for 8, 9, 10 hours and you stop somewhere, you anchor, you get some sleep, you get up, you pull the anchor, you go 8, 9, 10 hours. You do that on and on and on and on, and it's still, you know, 35 to 40 days to go from here to Marathon, Florida. It just takes that long. I only travel at about 5 miles an hour. So anyhow, what did I miss here in the chat? What is any of your schools? That sucks. Yeah, it costs so much to work. Carl, contact Steven. This is a fellow at his school that does nothing but fix the school's computers. He does side work. be a bad idea, Doug. Coffee with Carl. Hey, pilot, how you doing? Haul ass. Yeah, John, but see, here's the problem. If I haul ass, you know, Florence is a perfectly good example. It's still hurricane season. So it's really not too prudent of me to haul ass to Florida during hurricane season and get down there and lose everything in a hurricane. Ideally, I need to get to Florida, you know, the sane, intelligent, you know, but what I always thought of, they have a saying called the prudent man theory. And the prudent man theory is if a man takes his time, gets his head out of his butt and thinks about it for a while, you do what the cosmos direct you to do, you know. I want to get down to Florida and go to work. I would love to be there today. I really would. I'd love to be there today and be starting to work today. Don't kid yourself. I want to be down there immediately and start working. But, you know, it would be foolish of me to take my boat down there right now. First of all, it's going to take me a month and a half to get there. Even if I left here today, it's going to take a month and a half. And that's with perfect weather all the way down. We know there's going to be delays. We know there's going to be weather. We know there's going to be breakdowns. We know there's going to be problems. We're going to run aground or whatever. Stuff's going to happen along the way. That's just the nature of life. But there's no sense in putting myself in harm's risk. Like I could leave. I could have left this morning. And okay, well, hopefully I'm back now. Okay, so maybe I'm back again. Started. No, this is going to work anymore. Disconnected for you then. Be good. Bye. And that comes much better.